All right. Welcome. On the goal of today is to explain how to build an MVP, and it's a presentation we built with creative vendors. Yeah, you can see the slide, Eva, right?
Yeah, we can.
All right. The goal of this workshop is to see how you can build an MVP, understand what is an MVP, and what are the components of a successful MVP as an entrepreneur, or startups, or a company when you want to build something first. Quickly about me, I'm Louis. I'm the co-founder of Evodev. Evodev is a no-code agency. We've been here in France since 3 years now, and we build MVP in 6 weeks for startups and enterprise without code. So if you have any questions during this webinar, feel free to ask them on the chat, and we will respond to them after the presentation. And feel free to ask any questions and just raise your hand or activate the audio. Quickly, just to summarize the goal of what is an MVP. So MVP is a minimum viable product, which means is the simplest version that you can build of a product. So for example, if you're trying to build a marketplace, what would be the simplest version that you can launch? MVP is here to help you launch quickly. So yeah, the goal of an MVP is to get initial customers and traction. So for example, if you're launching a marketplace to buy and sell cars, for example, in France, the goal of the MVP is to build this web marketplace app and to get initial customers. So in this case, that will be get cars on the marketplace and get tractions like clients buying cars. One of the goal of the MVP is to talk to users and get feedbacks. A lot of entrepreneurs, they're focusing only on the product, and you should focus also on talking to users. It's like a circle. You should build a product based on the feedbacks you get with the customers. And this is called iteration. It's like improving the products. So let's say, for example, you're building this marketplace to buy and sell cars like in France. You should build a simple version of this marketplace, go talk to your users and see their feedbacks and try to add new features, modify this MVP based on what you learned with them. A lot of founders, they're just doing like what they think would be the best version of their platform, but you should like really focus on the simple version that you can launch in weeks, not months. In a lot of cases, you're gonna try to launch a lean MVP. Lean MVP means that you should be able to launch an MVP in weeks, not months. Like if you try to launch an MVP in months, that means that you're probably trying to build something too much, like too hard. You should try to find a version that you can launch in weeks. So try to think about your product, try to think about what you're trying to accomplish with your product, and try to see what would be the simple version that I can launch in like 4 to 5 weeks max. So to do that, you should think about the very limited functionality. So for example, a marketplace, you should get a search page, you should get payments, maybe invoicing, maybe a chat, like to talk with, like to send message to the vendors. And you should be able to add like a new car for sale. And you should be able to get like a commission based on the sale. So that would be, for example, the functionalities of the MVP. We can add, for example, we could add new features on the go. So for example, reviews. When you sell a car, you can add like a review on the seller, like in Vinted. But you should be able to do that later, like on phase 2, when you confirm the first phase. What we call also lean MVP is you should be able to build something small and he will be appealing to a small set of users. A lot of people are trying to build something very complex, and they're not trying to focus on someone. So for example, on this marketplace with cars, I can only focus on Paris, for example. I can launch in Paris, and if it's successful in Paris, I will do Lyon and Marseille and other cities in France. But you should be able to try to focus on a small niche, like customer niche, or like a city, or a small set of users that will be very happy to use your product. And that will be the base to launch a small like web app and to iterate from there. So don't try to focus too much on trying to say, hey, my web app is for anyone. I'm B2C, but I'm also B2B. Try to focus on something, a small niche, and you will be able after to add new features on the go. One of the best examples for that, I'm going to show you 3 examples of MVPs, which are the first version of big companies. The 3 examples are right now billion-dollar companies, and they were very, very like light MVP. For example, this is the first version of Airbnb. Airbnb first version was without payments. They launched it like in under like 2 to 3 weeks. There were no map view, you know, like the map view where you can search on the map, like a bed, a 2 house. You can filter the house based on your criteria. And the CTO was part-time. So they were not focusing on a lot of features, but they were trying to solve the problem. The first problem Airbnb was trying to solve was to get access to bed and bedrooms for conferences. So you got like conferences in San Francisco, and they were able to list new houses like for rent for the conferences. And it was working in San Francisco. So they tried to do it after in all California, and they expand globally after that, and they add new features. But the idea that I want to give you is Airbnb first MVP was very simple. Only a search page with listing. You can like just contact the vendor to go to there, but there were no payment, no map view, and just a CTO who was part-time. Another example is Twitch. So the first name of Twitch was Justin TV. For those of you who don't know Twitch, Twitch is a live streaming platform, mostly for video games right now, but it's very well known. Twitch at the beginning was just this kind of interface, who is very, very, very simple. It was on like just one channel, so you don't have the right to choose any channel, any video games. That was only just one channel where you can see the reality show about someone. So that was the live of this guy that you can see here. And if you want to switch, you cannot switch between something else. So you were able to have like a live chat. You will be able to send comments and see the video, but that was it. And that was very low resolution video, and there were no video games. And Twitch is all about video games today. And again, that was just the MVP. The goal of an MVP is to launch something you're not proud of, but to learn a lot and add new features on the go. Because if you try to build the best version of your app right away, that will take a lot of time, that will take a lot of resources, and you may fail. And the last example is Stripe. Stripe is a payment processing services. The old name of Stripe was /dev/payments. It was not Stripe. That was the landing page a couple of years ago. And Stripe is the feature that lets you buy anything online. You can see it on a lot of e-commerce stores, for example. And at the beginning, Stripe, they had like no bank deals. They had like a lot, like very few features. That was just, we can do payment processing right. That was just it. And you can sign up, you can get some analytics, but that was just like retention rates, conversion rates, and some metrics. And the founders themselves of Stripe, they will integrate it for you. Meaning, if you want Stripe, that was just in Silicon Valley when they did the MVP. And that was just founders will get to your home and see if you sign up to Stripe, and they will help you out to integrate it into your stores. So that was very manual, but they learned a lot to see if the users, they were able to sign up to process new payments and to access the analytics, for example. Sometimes you're not going to be able to build a very simple MVP. You will do what we call a heavy MVP in a very few cases. So some of you may work in very, very, very regulated industries. So for example, we get the health industry, insurance industry, banking industry, or if you're looking to build something very complex like RTech, biotech, etc., it's going to be very hard for you to build an MVP. But remember, the MVP is just a simple product that you can launch in weeks to get initial customers. So in this case, try to fake it until you make it. So that will be maybe if you're doing a fintech company and you need to process payment, you're not able to process payment right now, you can do a dashboard, try to build a dashboard, and then when you try to process payment, do it manually. And then you will figure out a way to do it automatically with like some technology behind it. But try to launch like a simple website, a simple dashboard, a simple SaaS, something to help you out, get signups, get initial tractions, and then try to find funds to build the technology behind it. Remember, a lot of you are very worried about launching. We heard a lot about entrepreneurs who are very worried to launch the MVP publicly, go on LinkedIn and say, hey, I'm live, you should try it. Don't be worried about that. Launch, they're not special. Just to give you an idea, how many of you can remember when Facebook launched? How many of you can remember when Google launched? Probably 2-3 people max, or maybe nobody. Don't be worried about launches. You can launch as many times as you want. Launch is just simply about getting customers. So when you're trying to build an MVP, just launch it. It will be quick and dirty, but launch it and try to get as many feedbacks as you can. It's very hard to learn from customer without an MVP. And when you get an MVP, you can put some analytics on the go. So you can put like Google Analytics, Hotjar, user snaps, which are third-party services to help you out analyze the feedback. And you should track that and try to use that to build new features. Some hacks for building an MVP. The first thing is if you're trying to build an MVP very quickly, try to time box what we call your specification. Specification are your features. So for example, if I'm looking to build, like if we take the example of the marketplace for cars to buy and sell cars, try to list all the features you want in this first version. Write down these specs, because when you try to, after working on your MVP, you will try to add new features on the go. Because if you say, for example, I want to do process, I want to be able to process payment, I want to be able to do maybe the invoicing, I want to be able to send messages to the vendors. When you will try to build your MVP, sometimes you will try to add new features on the go. Don't do that. Try to do a very detailed scope document to explain what you want to build, and try to focus only on this. And when these specification features are built, go live and see your customers. Try to take some feedbacks and build new features on the go. One of the things is also to cut your specification. Sometimes you think about too many things. Try to focus on only must-have features, not nice-to-have features. For example, if you're building a marketplace, you should be able sometimes to add to favorites a product. Let's say I want to add to favorite a product to go back later to this platform and see my favorites. This is not a must-have feature sometimes. You can probably say it's a nice to have features, and you can add that later to your development. Remember that the MVP is just step one in a journey. So try to keep momentum. So momentum is about a loop. So you test, you launch your MVP, you try to learn with your customer, and you iterate. So you take these feedbacks and you try to build new features. And it's a loop that you will continue to do every time. And please don't fall in love with your MVP. Remember, if you're proud about your MVP, it's probably too late. So try to launch it as soon as possible. It's all about building your product and talking to your users. It's not about building the best version of the app. You will have a lot of time to do that later with your developers. And one thing you could look at is no-code tools. So no-code tools are tools to help you build the MVP in weeks, not months. They are very easy to use, and it's like drag and drop interface when you can add new features on the go very quickly. So if you're not a developer and you're looking to build your MVP very quickly, you can look at tool like bubble.io that will help you out build this MVP. If we take an example of everything that I told you, let's say we want to build the Shazam for the art. Shazam for the art will be, I want to be able to scan and recognize like a sculpture, for example, and get some info about the sculpture. So what would be the core feature about the MVP? You should be able to scan. You should be able to scan the sculpture to get info. You should be able to, when you scan, we will be able to recognize the sculpture and give you info. And maybe something else will be, you will be able to share this info to your friends to get some virality about your app. So that could be the must-have features that you can get in your MVP. The tech after, if you look on the tech side, what would be the technology that you could use to build this? For the front and the backend, so what we see and how it works, we could use the no-code tool bubble.io. That would be a tool that could work for this example. We could also use Airtable, which is a database online. It's like Excel, but it's online. It's an online database that we can connect to Bubble to do the interface. We can do like all the arts will be on Airtable and they will be connected to Bubble. So we can train the model to give you a recommendation. And to be able to scan and recognize a sculpture, we can use NanoNet API. So you can go look out. It's an AI artificial intelligence module for image recognitions. So it means that you can put like 1,000 images of a sculpture. The module will be able to recognize this model. So if you take a picture and you send it to NanoNet, if you have 1,000 pictures behind it, he will be able to take you, give you recommendation, what sculpture is it? So again, this is just an example. It's not a real MVP. It's just to give you an idea on how to launch an MVP, how to decide on what to build. The time for the MVP could be 4 weeks, for example. We can say we have a deadline in 4 weeks because we have a conference and I want to be able to show something to my investors. I want to be able to show something to my initial customers or initial early adopters. So I want to be able in 4 weeks to show something. So that's why I'm not building everything. And the goal could be the MVP will be able to scan and recognize every sculpture in the Jardin du Luxembourg. So we have like maybe 15 sculptures. I can get a lot of pictures about these cultures. I will put them in the database. I will connect the database to NanoNet to see if we can recognize the image. And I will put all the information about this culture in Bubble. And this model could work. And when you have the features, the tech, the time, and the goal, you should put a success criteria, meaning what would be the success criteria for you to continue this project or to kill it? And one success criteria would be, for example, I want to get 100 active users after the first week I launched. So this is just, again, an example. You can say 10 active users. You can say 1,000 active users. It will depends on how do you plan to get tractions, growth for your platform. And you should also list some ideas about new features you want to build later. So for example, for the Shazam of the art, I may want to be able to add new reviews. I may want to be able to be in the Jardin du Luxembourg and get a map view of all the sculpture I can go to. And maybe I want to get a native app. So get the app on iPhone and Android. The first platform could be a web app, for example. If you have any question, again, feel free to add them in the chat and we'll address them later. I'm gonna give you, for that, couple example of real startups and companies that launched MVP, so you can get an idea of what is it. So, for example, Geoffrey was a web platform. The challenge was to, in the COVID time, how can we order food? And the solution was a web app to create an online menu, order and track food. So that means the clients was able to order new food, access the online menu, and give them a review. On the other side, the restaurant owner was able to create a menu. They were able to track orders, accept order, refuse order, and get payments. And that was just a very quick MVP. The result was incredible because they got 500 customers very quickly because we were in COVID time. And the restaurant owner, they were able to build in 5 minutes a menu. It was just like you can put a title, a description, and an image and a price, and you can say if it's a dessert, a dish, or something else. And on the tech side, this startup was built on Bubble for the front and the back end, and you get Stripe for the payment and SendGrid for sending the emails. So when you're receiving orders and this kind of thing. And it was, again, very simple. One features they could add on the go after the MVP is working was probably notification, for example, but they did that after getting the first MVP ready to market. Another example is Boomerang. Boomerang is a startup, and during the COVID, they were trying to test out a new business idea. Boomerang was selling escape game online, and during the COVID, nobody was doing escape game, and they were trying to do something else. So they tried to launch a new business idea very quickly to see if that was working. So the solution was a web application to book, organize virtual escape games online. So imagine your the HR manager of a big company in France. Everybody is working from home because of COVID, and you want to make sure everybody is still passionate about the culture of the company. You want to make sure that everybody is working on the same goal, and you want to get your team on a nice moment. This platform was for this HR manager. They were able to book any escape game online and to get the experience for their employees. The result of this, they built the platform themselves with Bubble, and they got 300 customers in 2021. And that was a complete e-commerce platform and personalized dashboard for companies. So let's say I'm HR for Danone. I had like a dashboard personalized only for me, my employees, and my escape games that I want to do. Another example was startups again. During the COVID, we had a lot of unsold food. So in supermarkets, as you know, they had like a lot of unsold food. So let's say they didn't sell a lot of food today and they want to see if there is a way to sell this unsold food to customers with a discount. The solution of that, because they had like to launch very quickly because that was again during the COVID, the solution was an e-commerce marketplace with warehouse, catalog, payment, and invoicing management. So again, these are the core feature of the MVP. They could do a lot of things. They could do API integration with like the catalog, but they didn't do that at the beginning. And the results was they built the MVP in 6 weeks, and they tried that with some very local supermarkets, and they're trying to go national after that. And again, you should try to focus on the core solution, the core MVP that you want to build. Last example is for MVP are not just for entrepreneurs and startups. They are also for enterprise company, very large companies. One of the example is for HP. HP was trying to renew one of their brand called HP for Education. HP Education was trying to imagine a business tool, like an internal tool for HP to recycle school IT equipments. So as you know, HP is providing IT equipment to school, and sometimes schools, they have to renew all their IT equipment for their teacher, for the school, or for the students. The solution was a platform for schools and suppliers. So suppliers would be all the stores with HP equipments. And when the school, as a school, you can add all the equipments that you want to renew, recycle as a school, and you can earn credit for that. And the credits, you can use the credits, it's like points. You can use the points to buy new equipments from suppliers. So it's like a marketplace. They launched the MVP in 6 weeks in the UK, just with couple schools. They did 2 schools, and now they have recycled more than 30,000 products in the UK, and they're working with a lot of international schools again. The goal again to this presentation is just to give you an idea on how to build an MVP, and MVP is just about getting initial tractions, feedbacks about your products. Try to build a simple version as you can. As you can see, it's not like a very beautiful platform, well designed, but it's working. And everybody is happy about it. And you can add new features on the go when you have like early traction. So we have a lot of time for Q&A, question and